In this week's episode, we are doing something completely different, and it will probably be quite ludicrous. Hi, and welcome to Our Ludicrous Future. This is the podcast where we talk about all kinds of technologically things that are happening today that's going to make our future unable to talk. So, I'm Joe Scott with the Answers with Joe YouTube channel, and with me today is nobody. It's just me. Actually, so what happened is that we all got really busy this week. I am actually going to go see my mom. Tim is traveling. He's actually talking about Blue Origin in a little bit. Ben has other things. So anyway, it just didn't work out this week, so we're going to do something a little bit different, which is basically we're all going to just record our own things, our own little segments, talk about what we're going to talk about, and there won't be a lot of back and forth. There won't be any back and forth. There'll be me talking, and then there'll be Ben, and then Tim, or whatever order it winds up getting put in. So this is going to be very different, and we'll see how it works. And if it doesn't, then failure is okay, guys. It's okay to do that. So here's the deal with me, though. So the other two guys, and I don't know if you watch this video, if you watch this channel, follow the podcast, you've probably caught on by now. Tim and Ben are experts, and they come on and they talk about stuff like experts, and then I kind of sit there and make jokes and throw in my own little 2 cents from time to time. 90% of the time when we do a show, I really don't know what I'm going to talk about. I might just find something in the news that might be worth throwing out there. Sometimes a big event happens and it's obvious that that's something that we're going to talk about. Sometimes I run across an article or I run across a story and I'm like, ooh, I want to talk about that, or I got a rant loaded up. But most of the time I just kind of pop on here and I wing it. And you can probably tell by watching. And I let the two experts do their expert thing, and I sit there and I make jokes. So that's what I'm good at. I don't have them to make jokes at this time, though, so it's just me. And I really, you would think that I would be a little bit more prepared. Not so much. So what I'm gonna do, and hopefully this is worth your time, is there's a few stories that I ran into that came through my feed today that I thought were interesting. I thought you guys might have something to get out of that. And yeah, I got 4 articles that I'm just going to run through here. Some of them, it's interesting stuff to me. I think it might be interesting to you. If not, I guess you can skip ahead to whoever's next. But let's just jump right in. So first of all, we all know that a few weeks ago, SpaceX had a horrible test with their Crew Dragon. Horrible in the sense that it, blew up, which is not good. So there was something else that happened, though, that I actually was not aware of until I just read this. Some of you may already be ahead of me. But apparently they had a parachute test. They had a parachute test recently that NASA was not completely happy with. So this was an article in Gizmodo. Let me pull it up here. So yeah, title, Failed SpaceX Parachute Test is Yet Another Setback for NASA's Crew Program. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it on your screen. If you're listening to it, I'll just kind of read through it. So basically, it says a recent parachute test of the SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule was not satisfactory. This was done at a meeting with Congress, the House Science, Space, and Technology Committee. This just happened yesterday. And basically, they were doing what they call, let me see if I can find it, they called it a single-out test. Meaning there's normally 4 parachutes. They took one away. Said it was like a, testing worst case scenario, or not worst case, but bad case scenario where one of the parachutes doesn't open. Would it still be able to do its thing? And so yeah, it says here, the test was meant to simulate a less than ideal situation in the event of a single parachute failure. They successfully performed 5 single-out parachute tests like this in the past, but in this case, the remaining 3 parachutes didn't operate as expected. They don't really know what the cause of the failure is yet, but one thing about it worth saying is that it actually wasn't in the crew capsule itself. Let me pull this out here. This wasn't actually in the crew capsule itself. It was actually on a sled. So this was a different situation than what they would do, actually falling down from space. But anyway, they didn't really like the results of it. But it's important to say, let me see if I can find something here. Yeah, okay, so right here. It says it was an advanced development test. I'll pull it back up for you guys if you want to read it. It was an advanced development test designed to measure the stresses endured by the parachutes. Rather than use an actual crew dragging capsule, they used a simple metal test sled. And during the test, the parachutes didn't fully open, and the sled hit the ground at a higher than expected velocity. No one was hurt, no property damage. So that's where we are right now. So down here below, who is this guy? Gersten Meyer. I think he's a spokesman for SpaceX, or maybe he's with NASA. Let me see if I can find it here. Bill Gersten Meyer, NASA Associate Administrator for Human Exploration and Operations. So this is who we're talking about. He testified before the subcommittee in the House, and he said something that I think is very important. He says, "I don't see this as a negative. This is why we test. This is why we want to push things. This is a gift to us. We've gotten data that is unique that will help us to design and understand if this is something that needs to be fixed or if it's something that was a nuance of the test." And SpaceX sort of mirrored that thing. And I will mirror what they're saying as well. I mean, that is why we test, is to find the little things that could go wrong, the little things that we're not completely comfortable with. Finding those things is good. You don't want to find them out later. So, and like they said, that they had conducted this test several times before without any anomalies, without any problems. This one, something went wrong. So they'll find what it is, they'll fix it, and everybody will be safer. In this article, they make a big deal of pointing out that this might push the whole crew commercial program back a little bit, which it's already kind of on the ropes after what happened with the SpaceX Crew Dragon test. But they also made a point that Boeing. Blue Origin isn't quite there yet. But they had a similar problem with Boeing. It said lawmakers didn't ask him about Boeing's recent parachute results, but in response to a Spaceflight Now question after the hearing, he confirmed that the Starliner parachute drop tests have encountered similar anomalies to the ones suffered by SpaceX. So I think when it all comes down to is like, this is normal stuff that they're going to find. They always hyper test these things. I do find it a little funny that, NASA in the past, they were always so gung-ho. They're always get up into space. And of course, they're always competing to get up there. I've said on the podcast before, they place such an emphasis on having a perfect record and everything being perfect with this commercial crew program. When they had the space shuttle all that time, 2 of them blew up. They had no jettison system for, launch abort system for them. And they're doing all these tests and they're putting roadblocks up for the commercial crew program. But I understand you got to be careful about these things. If we're entering this world now where like private companies can put people up into space, in space travel, space, working in space construction, that kind of thing, as we get into that world, we got to make sure that these fundamental things about safety, about getting people up into space are covered. We got to make sure of that. One funny thing that I saw at the bottom of this article, I'm just going to read this dude's comment. It says, "I'm confused. Did we or did we not send people to the moon in the 1970s? If we did, why the heck are we still learning how to design a damn parachute and relearn how to get to the moon? I mean, did the Apollo crews use the land back on Earth, hopes and dreams? It's almost like we never went to the..." This is somebody trying to say that this is proof that we never went to the moon. So to that guy, you're an idiot. We did go to the moon. They were a lot more risky back then, mostly because the race to the moon was a proxy war with Russia. Shut up. It's such a stupid argument. And by the way, this isn't like we haven't learned how to design parachutes. We haven't had a single major failure of a parachute in any of the Dragon spacecraft that have gone up and come back down, with any of the Soyuz spacecraft, with any of the, Starliner hasn't gone up yet, or any of the Blue Origin tests. It's not like we haven't got this technology down. Just there was an anomaly in one test. There have been many tests. This is going to be okay. Hopefully it doesn't push back the launch of the first actual humans into space. I know it was originally in July when they were going to do that. It is most definitely going to get pushed back, which is unfortunate. But fingers crossed that we get things moving again. It's frustrating. I'm as frustrated as anybody else, but we got to get it right. So that was that story. moving on, I did a video a while back on my YouTube channel, not to self-promote too much, but I did a video a while back about Dyson and their plans on putting an electric car out there. Well, we have a little bit of information now that just came out the other day, courtesy of Electrek. So headline reads, Dyson electric car patents reveal possibilities of large wheels and third row seating. They've even got a little design here. So this is all for patent purposes. And it says somewhere here that this is sort of just a stock picture of a car. This isn't necessarily their design, but that didn't stop Autoblog or Autocar from from going ahead and putting together what they thought this would look like if it was actually mocked up and made of metal and everything. So that was their take on it. And it's, who knows? I mean, sometimes people get pretty close with these sort of things, so we can see that and say maybe maybe that's something that Dyson's going to be doing. It's kind of exciting to me. I'm always for new innovations and new technologies and new companies getting into this space. I think there's more than enough room for everybody. But yeah, so they published patents and gave an interview giving a few insights. Let's see what else is there here. So the drawings of the patents admittedly don't reveal much. They're said to show an androgynous vehicle, so I guess it's both male and female, and provide a glimpse of some innovative steps that we are considering. Some of the interesting points, the patent hits at relatively large wheels. It says Dyson was inspired by the Mini's design, which would make the vehicle more efficient and ready to take on city and rough terrain. Looks like it's got a pretty high profile there as well. I guess that's part of the big wheels. The article emphasizes that the vehicle's expectedly long wheelbase, high floor and low roof with sedan-style seating, a third row of seats. Dyson described that as a command driving position. That's what he said. You can see in these little mock-ups here, like that's a pretty high ground clearance, or at least it looks like it in the drawings there. So yeah, same kind of deal. This is James Dyson. He wants the UK to move up its ban on the sale of new petrol and diesel cars to 2030. Right now it's set to 2040. They're actually going to ban all gasoline internal combustion engine cars. But there's some that are proposing moving it up to 2035. So Dyson has talked about a lot of different innovations they want to do. They've partnered with a new battery technology company. I think it's called Satke 3 from Michigan. I want to say that's right. And they're talking about supercapacitor technology and that kind of thing to increase storage, dry cell technology to reduce weight. And Dyson, they promote how all of their products, whether it's the vacuum or the hair dryer or the hand dryer and all that stuff, they all deal with wind, airflow, basically. So they're trying to apply some of those airflow understandings, knowledge, expertise to the car. I know that they're working on some of that. So just for that alone, I'm excited to see what Dyson comes up with. And this is a nice little interesting nugget. We hadn't seen any kind of actual specific information about what they're doing, but clearly they're working on some stuff. They're planning to launch a vehicle in 2021, and Dyson says it will be entirely designed by Dyson, manufactured by Dyson, and sold by Dyson. So it looks like they're trying to be vertically integrated, kind of in the same way Tesla is. So I thought that was interesting. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Next little bit of news. Another EV, future EV that's on the way. Volkswagen just yesterday started taking reservations for their new electric vehicle that's called the ID.3, which is a terrible name, I must say. But this is from CNBC, which is a hilarious comedy website. Although in fairness, this was a pretty decent article. So yeah, they took 10,000 orders in just 24 hours. Now, if I may insert a little of a Joe rant here, CNBC can't not bash Tesla. And I will give them credit for not bashing Tesla in this headline, although they did it in another headline that I'll get to in just a second. But they're making a huge deal. I've noticed a pattern with them, especially like anything Tesla is bad. anything other company making an electric car that could be coming up and challenging Tesla, good. And so they're really highlighting the fact that Volkswagen got 10,000 orders in 24 hours. And let me say, before I go into my negative rant thing here, that's fantastic. To me, that is fantastic. I hope Volkswagen knocks it out of the park with these. I hope that Audi knocks it out of the park, and Jaguar. I hope all of these companies really do well with electric cars. That's ultimately what I'm all about. I hate that it's always a horse race, and I know that that's what sells and that's why they do it. But it doesn't have to be a horse race. I mean, we're talking about transforming a technology here, and it shouldn't be there's a winner and a loser. It should be everybody getting on board with it. That's my take anyway. So kudos to Volkswagen, for just, getting this out there and doing it, for finally kind of launching this car. It doesn't officially launch until this fall, I think September at the Frankfurt Auto Show is what this article said. But kudos to them for doing that. I really want to put that out there. And by the way, I have had... I think my current car, the Model 3, is the 5th car I have owned my entire life, and 3 of those 5 were Volkswagen. I was a very Volkswagen brand loyal guy. I had an original Beetle. That was the first car I ever had, 74 Beetle. And then I got a new Beetle when those came out, and then I got a Jetta. And in between, there were other cars. But I'm a fan of Volkswagen, and of course that whole Dieselgate thing was terrible, and what can you do? That wasn't my fault. I'm not going to apologize. Shut up. But anyway, so Volkswagen is trying to turn a corner. They're trying to get this new electric vehicle out there. They've got plans for several of them. I think there's 3 that are coming out soon. It says that their entry-level car will cost around €30,000, which is 33,600. That's a great price. And I'm looking forward to seeing how all this comes out. But let me get back to the article here. Oh, sorry, I didn't even get to my point. They're making a big deal that Volkswagen got 10,000 orders in 24 hours. Again, great. I just would like to point out that that is literally 3% of the number of orders that Tesla got in the first 24 or 48 hours, whatever it was. They got like 276,000 in the first couple of days that they announced their car. So CNBC is patting themselves in the back and saying Volkswagen is going to beat Tesla in some way. I mean, let's just have a little perspective here. I just wanted to put that out. Okay, so getting back to the article. So ID.3 is their electric hatchback. I'm sorry, it's a terrible name. It's a golf-sized car. It'll be officially launched this September in the Frankfurt Motor Show. And they're named it ID.3 because Volkswagen views the model as the 3rd major evolution in the firm's history after the Golf and the Beetle, which is a nice sentiment. I'll put it. There you go. They did take a deposit of $1,000. So, by the way, if you're interested, I guess you can go to their website and you can pre-order it now. Orders become binding in April 2020, with those who change their mind able to get a full refund until then. That's exactly what Tesla did. Volkswagen sales boss Jürgen Stockman, however you want to pronounce it, said on Twitter Thursday they got 10,000 reservations, so they made it official. Good for them. They do actually say in here, to CNBC's credit, that the number falls well short of the launch of the Tesla Model 3 in April of 2016, 276,000 pre-orders. It says VW plans to sell 3 versions of the ID.3, 45 kilowatt hour, 58 kilowatt hour, and 77, with varying ranges of 200 miles, 261, and 342. So 342 is a very good range for an electric car. German firm said a full warranty on the ID3's battery will cover 8 years, just under 100,000 miles, or normal depreciation of the battery to 70% of its original maximum capacity. So that's the story there. Again, seriously, I wish them the best. I would love to see one of these. Hopefully it'll come to a car show near me someday, and I would love to see one on the road after 2020. We'll see. So giving a little bit of kudos to CNBC for mentioning in there that Tesla did totally way outdo that number. Let's get back to what CNBC is really good at. They really are a hilarious website. Tesla faces twin assault as Mercedes and VW start taking orders for its first long-range EVs. They just couldn't help themselves. So they kind of kept out of bashing Tesla in that last article, but this one they just jumped right into it. They put it right in the headline. Tesla faces twin assault. Both Volkswagen and Mercedes-Benz begin taking orders Thursday for new battery electric vehicles. This is the EQC of Volkswagen that's starting to finally take some orders. Two companies plan to follow up with a wave of additional entries. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so first line, it's been a tough month for Tesla, and the challenges a Silicon Valley electric car maker faces will only accelerate now that two major European automakers are launching sales of their first entries into the long-range EV market. So let me, this is actually a pretty long article. We'll probably put links somewhere. Some pictures here for those looking. There's the Mercedes-Benz EQC. There's that new Volkswagen ID3 with some weird paint stuff going on. And that was actually revealed in, so just a couple days ago, May 8th. The e-tron from Audi. So they're like going through and they're showing all these other cars. There's the BMW i3. Which one is that one? Oh, the I-Pace, yeah. Jaguar I-Pace. So it's a long article. And feel free to go look at it. And they do talk about some of the new electric cars that are on their way. And again, to echo the sentiment that I put up just a second ago, I am for that. I am for all these new models that are coming out. I hate when they get called Tesla killers because that shouldn't be the mission. The mission should be transforming our transportation and our economies. And also just because Tesla is so far ahead in so many ways, it's just a ridiculous thing to say. And the thing is, I'm going to get on my high horse for just a second. This is actually not a bad article in terms of the way they're talking about some of the new EVs that are coming out, and the information that's being put out there about if you want to find out about any of these EVs, that would be the I-Pace, the EQC, the e-tron, all of those. There's actually a lot of information about them in this article. But Tesla gets mentioned like twice in the entire article. Once at the very beginning, talking about how they're under assault. Under here, they're talking about the EQC, how it delivers 292 miles of range, 402 horsepower, 554 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, blah, blah, blah. Those numbers suggest it will pose a direct challenge to both Tesla's older Model X and upcoming Model Y. Really, I think that's the only other mention of Tesla in this entire article. Really, that is like the only other mention of Tesla in this entire article. That's perfectly fine. But what do they put as the headline? Tesla faces twin assault as Mercedes VW, blah, blah, blah. Come on, guys. It almost upsets me for Mercedes and Volkswagen and Audi, because here they have these cars coming out. They're probably great cars. Ben may disagree with me on that, but here these guys are doing the right thing. They're putting these cars out, and all these dudes are doing is talking about Tesla in a negative way, of course, because that's how they get clicks and whatnot. Anyway, that's my rant on that. You knew that was coming. So anyway, those are the articles that I ran across today, and I hope this was remotely interesting to you. We'll try to put links down somewhere where you can go follow up on these if you want to. Some interesting news in the works. I am very curious to see Dyson's car on its way, and I'm excited about Volkswagen. I'm glad that they're getting all these orders and that it's an official thing, and I look forward to seeing more about it. So with that, we'll continue this whole weird pseudo podcast experiment, and I will bounce off to either Tim or Ben. I don't know which order these are going in, but appreciate you guys listening, and we'll catch you next time, actually live in some kind of ludicrous future. All right, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Joe. And yeah, I do have some thoughts and comments about these other cars really being fantastic or whatever, but we'll see. Maybe you're right. Maybe Volkswagen and Audi, these guys can pull it off. I certainly hope they do as well. Just from my experience, haven't really seen what I would have hoped yet. So yeah, hoping to be wrong in the future. But what I wanted to talk about, two things. Just a quick update from the last week when we were talking about Tesla raising capital. They've officially closed on this. It closed at $2.7 billion in convertible bonds and stock. Elon ended up buying $25 million worth. So that's great. A big infusion in cash for Tesla, which means they can continue to invest in things like the Model Y production, which again, we don't know the actual place of that, but everyone kind of suspects Gigafactory 1 in Nevada. So more to come on that. Just wanted to kind of wrap that up. The other article I saw that I thought was interesting to talk about was that Tesla cars now can self-diagnose and pre-order parts before you even have the issue noticeable. And this is a tweet someone sent out where there was a photo here saying that an unexpected condition. This is a message that a modal that popped up on the vehicle. It said, an unexpected condition has been detected with the power conversion system in your Model 3. A replacement part has been pre-shipped to your preferred Tesla service center. Please use your Tesla mobile app or your Tesla account to schedule a service visit appointment now. And this goes along with what Elon had said earlier in the year, that service was his number one priority. And I think that's fantastic. This is one kind of cool way, a unique way that Tesla can improve things without actually having to spend a lot more money. This is just a few lines of code and bam, now service got better. So there's not a huge capital investment to do this. So I really like that things are going this way. Obviously, I was a big fan of what Elon was saying earlier, because service, I believe, is still Tesla's biggest weak point. It's not, I mean, the guys that do the work and everyone I've worked with there has always been great. It's more of a matter of, do they have the tools and the equipment and the resources they need? In San Diego, where I live, I actually just had my Model X that I'm sitting in right here serviced, and it was a great experience. The reason it was a great experience is because they now have 3 locations, whereas just maybe a few months ago, 6 months ago, they only had 1. So the investments in service are coming. I've seen them personally. We're seeing them in the software, and Elon is talking about it a lot. So I really hope that this gives any potential future Tesla owners kind of ease, knowing that the company is working on this, because these products, these vehicles are the most amazing things in the world. There is nothing quite like them. And as Joe Rogan, says, and I completely agree with him, after you get into Tesla and have one, it makes every other car seem stupid. And he's right about that. That's why so many people like myself are so passionate about them. So the next part of that was, how's the service? Because inevitably there are going to be things, right? This car here had been sitting outside for a couple of years, and it's a Model X. It has crazy bells and whistles and features, so little things were misaligned here and there. But I took it in, and they did a great job. So a big shout out to them for actually putting the effort in on this. And then one comment about the James Dyson thing, or the Dyson electric vehicle. I love what they're doing. I love that they're taking a kind of a, they're seeing what worked with Tesla, and they're trying to do it, similar vein, but on their own. And so I'm stoked on that. I really hope that they succeed, because if they truly pull off that solid state battery thing, that'll be the game changer. It'll be, all the companies that didn't have it before, you won't even remember who they are. So if they can do that, fantastic, because that'll mean a big jump in our acceleration towards more sustainable forms of energy. So also the last thing I want to point out, Tesla had a really cool Twitter thread. Someone apparently has taken over their Twitter account. Maybe they hired a new person or something, that's been posting a lot of good stuff. And they posted this kind of history lesson of Tesla and where they've been. And I think it was great, because a lot of what it highlighted was how basically everyone thought Elon was nuts and a fraud and just a bad engineer, just really everything bad you could think about a guy, back when they hadn't even made the first Roadster. Then he did it, and the world's perspective changed. Then he said he wanted to do a sedan, and he did it. Then he wanted to do a mass market version, and he did it. So it's one of those things, if you guys are listening to this, watching this, you're, maybe unsure about where things are going, look at the history here. And their Twitter thread was a great way to catch up on that if you've not done that. Also, Shamath, who was a former Facebook guy, did a really great interview talking about this on was it CNBC? I forget what show. But anyways, I'll put links to that stuff if you guys want to check that out, because I think it was just, it was kind of a quieter week, no big crazy announcements in the Tesla space, but some good signs towards a more sustainable and better future for Tesla owners and for the company. So that's all I had for this week. As Joe mentioned, I'm traveling as well. This was just kind of the stars aligned where we're all off in different locations, or I'm going to be in a different location soon. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and here is Tim.
Hi guys, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. I have to first off apologize that this is taking so long to get this episode out to you guys. I just watched my brother-in-law compete on American Ninja Warrior, and that was freaking awesome. So I'm out here in Tacoma, Washington, which is just south of Seattle. And I went from Washington, D.C. to Washington State. And so here I am. This is my first little even second of like even breath of time. Besides like I'm with my family. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of us here. So between running around and just doing all of the things and then getting to the air, I haven't like even had a second to breathe. So here's my my brother-in-law, Scott Behrens is his name, and he runs social media called Backyard Ninja Kids. So if you have, especially kids that they do a lot of like tutorial stuff on how to train like a ninja in your backyard, him and my nephew. So I'm proud of that. I'm really proud of Scott, and I'm excited if you guys watch that show by any chance, tune into that because it'll be really cool. But anyway, we have a ton to talk about because, as you know, I was out there in Washington, D.C. to watch Jeff Bezos talk about something. And this was something really interesting. So let me just show you guys what happened. I'm going to try sharing my screen here. I hope this works out okay for you guys. So they had this kind of like not secret, this is the least secret event they've ever done, because Blue Origin has never really done an event like this, but it was very akin to like when Elon does his, his talks, like he did at IAC with the BFR and stuff. I was expecting something kind of like that. I kind of knew they were going to talk about a lunar lander, but I was hoping we were going to see more updates and details on New Glenn, more updates and details on New Armstrong, which is their even bigger rocket than New Glenn. So what we ended up getting was really, honestly, it was really, in my opinion, it was great. It was really fun to see just kind of their future updates. Jeff Bezos clearly gets it as far as like showed off a lot of data talking about like literally the resources, the amount of energy humanity takes up on our planet Earth, and is saying that clearly we're going to be living, out in O'Neill cylinders and things like that in the near future. Basically is what he said. Like we need to develop that railroad to do that. And so he's saying that, that a long time ago, someone studied where is the best place for humans to live off of Earth. We've obviously studied the moon and Mars, and he talked about then the O'Neill cylinders, which is basically, I think that's what they're called. Basically enormous space stations, like freaking huge. Like we're talking, I don't know if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening, I'll try to describe it. But there's this picture of this giant, like floating city in the sky. And there's nothing really here for reference or scale. You could think this might look like it's the size of like your thumb. But in real life, that ring that's on the one side, they showed the International Space Station scale to this. They had to zoom so far in, and then it was literally just a dot, like smaller than one of these stars in the picture. It was so cool to see that scale of. By the way, this presentation is online, so if you missed it, you can watch the entire like hour-long presentation on YouTube. But it was really cool just showing off how big the imagination and the size of the endeavor of actually using something like an O'Neill cylinder is. It is nuts. So anyway, la-di-da-di-da-di-doo-di-doo, there it is, the O'Neill cylinder, and then just a bunch of it was just kind of like a hype thing, like, and saying like, this is our problem. They basically just laid out like almost the company's vision and goal is to develop really the railroad to get to space is really their big thing. And it was just kind of a nice, simple thing. They talked about, a little bit about New Glenn, obviously just kind of giving us a rundown, but they didn't really give us any updates other than 2021, which is what we've heard so close, or so for a while now. But then all of a sudden he goes, oh yeah, boom, and there it is. Jeff Bezos, a big giant curtain dropped, and next thing you know, there is a lunar lander that is a sizable lunar lander. It looks, I actually would be curious about the dimensions here, but it looks a lot like the descent stage of the lunar excursion module, or the lunar module from the Apollo era. There's probably similar size to that, to be honest. And don't forget, because the New Glenn has a 7-meter fairing, that does mean they don't really have to fold this thing up into origami as much as the Saturn V, because the Saturn V, the main first stage was a 9-meter fairing, 9-meter core, what was it? 10 meters. Then it tapered down to like 7, then it tapered down again. So, I mean, yeah, this, I don't know. But anyway, the fairing in the new Glenn is big enough to do this. But the question is, and I haven't actually seen the numbers yet, what are they going to take this to the moon with? I don't know if New Glenn on its own has enough Delta V with this big of a lunar lander to be able to send this to the moon on its own. Maybe they can. I mean, New Glenn is a substantial vehicle. It's in some ways out to geo. I think it actually has more capability to geo than the Falcon Heavy. So because it has a really efficient upper stage. It has a dual. They use their BE3Us, which are very similar to like an RL10. A very efficient engine. And it's a big upper stage, so it has a lot more kick in it than, say, the Falcon Heavy's upper stage. And since it's hydrogen powered, you have an inherent increase in specific impulse. I believe their specific impulse of those BE3Us should easily be, something above 400, probably closer to 450 seconds of specific impulse, which is very good compared to the vacuum optimized Raptor, which is like 380. Yeah, so this is great. This is really cool. They have on top of it like based off like a naval ship, like a cool crane system, so you can deploy 4 large rovers, 3.6 tons to the surface of the moon, which is, yeah, that's a lot. But then, to me, one of the more substantial things, because honestly, this is cool. This is great. I think there is some substantial and legitimate engineering here. But the thing is one of the hardest things of any rocket design and anything with rockets is the engine. And boom, all of a sudden they showed us the BE7, which, okay, now let's go through this. There's the BE3, which is on their New Shepard, which is their suborbital, space tourism thing that they've basically used to learn how to work with hydrogen. They've used it to learn how to propulsively land and do guidance and build and fly a rocket. I mean, it's a great test bed for that. And if someday it can pay for its own development by doing space tourism, that's great. I don't know why. I do not understand why people are critical of New Shepard. Like, guys, they're gaining so much good, legitimate engineering experience and flights and everything off this program. And if people are willing to pay to fly on it, that's awesome. So anyway, BE3 is that. The BE3U is used on the upper stage. There's 2 of them on the upper stage of New Glenn. New Glenn is their orbital class rocket. It's a heavy lift vehicle, almost super heavy lift rocket. And it has 7 BE4s on its first stage. And now BE4s, so it goes BE3, the small one, BE4, a bigger one, and those are methane powered. They're closed cycle, oxygen rich closed cycle. I'll be talking about that a lot in this video that I'm still very, very, very much working on, and it doesn't seem to be getting easier. This video is going to be nuts, and I hope you guys love it as much as the effort is. But so what was I saying? The BE4 is closed cycle, and it's a methane-powered engine. And then they went to this BE7. What? BE3 small, BE4 bigger, BE7 smallest. So this is the engine that they developed for this Blue Moon lunar lander. And this is a dual tap-off combustion cycle, which I actually won't be covering in the video because there are so many different types of rocket engines, and I'm really just focusing on the kind of the big 3, or big 3.5 or whatever, that kind of apply to the Raptor engine. So I'm not getting into the tap-off cycle, but yeah, this is what this is. Again, the BE3 actually is tap-off, and so is the RL10. There's a couple engines that are tap-off, but this is, I believe it's a closed cycle, dual expander. Oh, sorry, not tap-off, expander cycle. Sorry, almost messed that up. It is an expander cycle engine, dual expander though, one for each pump, and that's probably because the pumps for the hydrogen pump and the liquid oxygen pump are so drastically different sizes that you do need as much heat to be captured probably to spin that hydrogen pump than you would to spin the LOX pump. So here we go, 10,000 pounds of thrust, highly throttleable. Oh yeah, 453 seconds of specific impulse. That's very, very good. And it's mostly 3D printed, a good chunk of it's 3D printed. And then they have not yet hot-fired it, but they're going to be hot-firing it this summer, which is awesome. They also showed they already have a handful, about 8 partners that they talked about that will be utilized in this Blue Moon program. So this is substantial. They might someday offer a stretched tank version, or they're planning a stretched tank version, which can get 6.5 tons to the surface. And then they showed a lunar ascent stage for humans on top of that. So they're clearly saying, like, look, if the current administration, presidential administration, and NASA really wants to get humans on the moon in 5 years, by the end of 2024, they're clearly bidding for that. They are clearly saying, look, we literally have the lander ready. Stick a ascent stage on top of this baby. We'll get you out there. And again, I would need to have someone run the math, but I'm guessing it would take 2 New Glenn launches in order to do that. It would probably require, the lunar lander. This would be funny because it would still have to be rendezvousing with something else. Maybe they could make it so this little ascent stage could dock up to, say, the Orion capsule. That would fit really well with NASA. NASA would sure love that because they've already spent like 13 or 14 billion or whatever it is on the Orion capsule. If they could utilize the Orion capsule, have it rendezvous with this, send the Orion up with New Glenn and the service module, send this baby up, use whatever tank has the most delta V to get the kick stage up there. Maybe it takes 3 to get a kick stage 2. I don't know. Someone is probably running the numbers right now. Maybe my friend Marcus House, who has a YouTube channel, or Scott Manley, or someone's doing something like that. But that was my big question, is like, so how is it getting there? Because I just don't know. But it's cool. Of course, there's a lot of criticism that, is this just vaporware? When you develop an engine, that's substantial. When you develop the infrastructure, that's substantial. And I don't take anything this company does lightly. I do not understand why people doubt this when clearly they have invested billions. I don't think people need to go see their factories and see their headquarters, which I'm going to see the headquarters on Monday. People need to go check them out and then be the judge for themselves and know how seriously. And for me, this is my opinion. When people say, like, I don't care, call me when they get to orbit. Okay, first off, orbit's solved. Like, we know how to get to orbit. A handful of the people that probably work at Blue Origin have probably worked on orbital programs. Orbit isn't some, like, it's never been done, good luck, Yes, it is an achievement. Yes, it is a milestone. Is it impossible and something that we just say, you can't do that? Like, I don't know of any companies. Yes, SpaceX almost didn't get to orbit because they ran out of money. But I don't know of any companies that were like, we're going to get to orbit and then failed to actually get to orbit. They failed, even just developing the rockets and stuff, and maybe had some failures in that sense. But, like, I can't think of too many that were literally the vehicles out on the pad, they're launching, intending to get to orbit. They can't get to orbit in all their attempts, and then they go out of business because they failed to get into orbit. Blue Origin is so far past that. Besides that, this is my rant. Sorry, this is going to be a Tim rants. Besides that, if we're talking about, in this grand scheme of things, if you're doubting whether or not they can get to orbit with what they've already built, developed, and invested in, look at the United States in 1960, like literally only after 40 minutes of suborbital spaceflight experience ever, JFK actually spoke to Congress and said, I want to go to the moon by the end of the decade. That was before his speech. He first told Congress he wanted to go to the moon within 10 years. Like, think about that. We hadn't even made it to orbit with a human ever, and we're still flying him in tin cans, and he was saying he wants to, and we did that. Yes, we threw a ton of money at it. If there's one thing Blue Origin lacks, I think it's money. Or doesn't lack, I think it's money. They do have Jeff Bezos's money behind this entire thing, and he is the richest individual in the world. And besides that, they've already secured a bunch of contracts with New Glenn and stuff. I have no doubt in that program. So I'm just one of those types of people that says, don't go down that camp, guys. Like, first off, don't do that camp with anybody. I don't care what, if they're trying to get to space and trying to make space cheaper, I'm a fan of them, period. And second off, like, let's just be positive. Like, this is a great company doing awesome things. They just show off a lunar lander that I haven't seen a legit lunar lander concept that has some hardware developed, to this degree in my lifetime, and that can send humans to the moon, and people going, no, get to orbit first. Anyway, that's my rant. I got to meet Ariane Cornell, she's the host of the New Shepard launches. She was awesome. I think that's all I really had, for that. So that's basically what happened with this weekend's thing. Actually, when was that? Thursday's announcement. New Blue Origin is doing some huge things. I'm really excited about it. That's my thoughts on that. And I'm excited to hear what you guys are all thinking, because I know that this, for some reason, I know some of the criticism about the event, though, is that they didn't invite all press, or they didn't even have a way to apply as press for it. I happen to be lucky. I honestly don't really know why I got invited, other than maybe it's because I do webcasts alongside their webcasts and attract probably about the same or similar size audience to what they're pulling in for their live streams at the moment. So maybe they just like that I help in that aspect. I don't know. I don't know why I got invited, and some legitimate, very legitimate publications didn't get invited. I have no idea, but that's not any of my business. That's not really why I went there. I didn't go there to discuss press policy with the company. I went there to see what they're up to, and I was really excited they finally got us in the door and showed us some cool stuff, and I want them to do more of that. Talking to a couple employees, they were so thrilled to finally show off some of their work, because they are a very tight-lipped company. So, yay, everyone, let's cheer, because, yay, I think it's good progress, and I think it's a step in a really exciting future, and exciting potential. Okay, so let's get on to some other news. Let's actually go this way, because Teslarati and some others are reporting that the SpaceX's Starhopper, of course, we can't go much longer without talking about Starhopper, because you know how SpaceX is pretty aggressive with the Starhopper thing. They seem to be changing things often. Well, look at this. Boca Chica gal, Mary, down at Boca Chica, has been, she lives in Boca Chica Village, takes pictures of Starhopper very, very, very often. And here's what's going on. They're starting to install the RCS, or the Reaction Control System, pads on Starhopper. So here's some pictures. They're actually having to install quite a few. So for reference, these are the exact same nitrogen thrusters that are on SpaceX's Falcon 9 rockets. They're installing these on Starhopper. Now, the SpaceX Falcon 9 only uses a pair of these. There's a pack, so we'll call each pack actually has 4 thrusters, 2 on each side, and then 1 facing outward, and then 1 facing downward. And that gives them all the control authority necessary to control their Falcon 9 during reentry and stuff like that. So this Starhopper vehicle is so much heavier, so much bigger. They actually have not only doubled up on these, but there's actually 6 of them all around the vehicle. So there's 6 of these pods, and you can tell they're just smorgasborded from a whole different host of Falcon 9s, because they're actually, some are Block 4, some are Block 5 pods. They're not wanting to spend any more money than necessary. How cool is it that they have reused hardware from landed cores even? I mean, that is the coolest thing. They can just use these stuff, almost use the scraps off them, because those are expensive. And this vehicle sure might blow up someday. It's a risky development vehicle that they're doing a lot of brand new things on. So why would they try to spend a bunch of money, and why not use something they have sitting around in a hangar, or in their factory somewhere? I love this. I love this attitude with SpaceX. I love that they're doing this. This to me is really fun. It's fun that we can keep track of it, of course. So now we're starting to see RCS pods. This means there's going to be. By the way, here's pictures of the upper stage nozzles on a Falcon 9, the nitrogen thrusters. So we're seeing them even install. Here we go. So there's some composite overwrap pressure vessels, COPVs, that they're putting on top of Starhopper. Some of these are helium, because for now, while they're developing the vehicle, they're back pressurizing the tanks. As the tank drains, they're filling it with helium, which makes it's a pretty easy thing. But the final version of Starhopper will not have COP helium. It will be stored in a pressure in a different. They'll store pressure in a different way, or maintain pressure using autogenous pressurization, which is where basically the tanks pressurize themselves. It's a good thing. But for now, they're using helium, but they also now are installing these nitrogen COPVs to be able to, give enough nitrogen cold gas to be able to do the RCS for Starhopper. And they're big. They're really, really big. So we're seeing these installed. And then, we know that they're not going to be using anything besides RCS thrusters, or they aren't going to be using the Methalox RCS thrusters like we had heard. They're only going to be doing cold gas thrusters only. So that's cool, fun news, because they are preparing to do untethered tests. It sounds like people are kind of guessing by the end of May. By the end of May, hopefully early June, they're going to start doing untethered tests. We'll have to wait until we see like disconnecting umbilicals to when they fuel up the vehicle. They need to be able to disconnect it, because otherwise it will take the cords with it. So they need to be able to disconnect those. Once we start seeing stuff like that installed, now the RCS is installed, they're going to install serial number 1 Raptor engine, which has not flown yet. The only Raptor engine that's been stuck on that Starhopper and has caused it to hop at all has been serial number 2. And serial number 2 is kind of being tweaked. These first set of Raptor engines that are in this, that are the full, kind of out of the development phase and into not quite full production, but these are substantial. These are the full metrics of the Raptor engine as they stand for now. These first couple ones are kind of still going through tweaks. They're probably still taking the extra instrumentation. So number 2 was the one that used to be on Starhopper. Number 1 actually had a bit of some kind of boomy out at McGregor before the hops ever started. And then number 3 has kind of been tested at McGregor. So it sounds like 1, 2, and 3 will eventually all be installed on Starhopper when it starts doing higher hops. But for now, it's number 1's turn to be powering Starhopper, and that's cool. And in order to do untethered tests, they do have to have RCS, because a single Raptor engine like that can't provide roll control. It can provide gimbal in any other direction, yaw and pitch, but it can't provide roll control. Some single engines can provide roll control if they have either vernier thrusters that provide roll, like on the old Atlas vehicles, or non-gimbling engines like what's on the Soyuz rocket. They have vernier thrusters, or even the Delta IV medium and Delta IV heavy with the the RS-27 or RS-68, RS-68A, I think. Sorry, I'm forgetting which engine is on that, but it has 2 pre-burners, and they actually let the pre-burner exhaust be the roll control motors that give it a little bit of roll control authority. So the Starhopper, in order to do roll control, I'm saying roll control so many times, I'm losing track of how to say that. But the Starhopper needs those RCS thrusters in order to do roll control and just have additional control authority over itself. So we're hoping to see it do its first real hops, not tethered hops, a real 20, 30 meter hop sometime here in a couple, 2 or 3 weeks. Big fingers crossed on that one. That's my goal. I really want my Raptor engine video out before those hops. That's my total goal. I'm working as hard and quickly as I can on that thing. I do promise. Now we had one other big thing. Well, on that, Elon did say, let me see if we can find this. Okay, let me first talk about this because here. Hang on. Elon, what's his name? Mr. Musk. So just last night, Elon, or 2 days ago, Elon said, Elon did say that he's going to try to do a presentation about Starhopper and Starship, kind of their most recent thing, in about, by June 20th-ish. Where is it? Probably June 20th, he says. And this was in a response to me saying, will you still be doing a presentation soon with Starship updates? And he said, probably June 20th, which I can't wait. I really hope that's a public thing. I hope it's live streamed. I hope that he invites press. I hope it's a big technical rundown that we've all been waiting for, to see some serious updates, although they're being insanely open about what they're working on, and especially now that they're building a freaking rocket in the open, we literally see a lot of their thoughts on this development. So I don't exactly know if he's going to shock us with too many things other than just solidify some of the things and speculations that we've been seeing. and really give us a sense of like where they're at in the process, and what their plans are for building certain things. So, lastly, last SpaceX thing here, Elon just tweeted that they're going to be launching their Starlink constellation, and I think they accidentally are launching corn. We didn't know much about Starlink. Starlink has been very secretive, and that is their it's going to be their global internet. That's like in a Leo constellation, so a low Earth orbit constellation. It's nuts, and it's going to be like 7,000 satellites covering the Earth with gigabit speed internet, fairly low latency, and quick enough to quote unquote game with. So it is going to be a pretty low altitude. If I remember right, I should have known because we just got some facts on this last week. Sorry, it slipped my mind. But I think it's like 7,500 satellites in total someday, with an orbit, I think of like I'm nervous to say it wrong. I think it's about 400 kilometers or something. It's pretty low Earth orbit, which it's half the distance that we thought it was going to be for orbital altitude. And here is the first, these are the first Starlink satellites. There's 60 of them crammed inside a Falcon 9 payload bay, which looks absolutely insane. It looks like an ear of corn. I don't even quite know what's going on. I can't even tell where one ends and where another begins. I don't know what's happening. I don't know who I am anymore. It's just crazy. You have to see this picture. It's on his Twitter. And yeah, if you guys want to know how SpaceX will make money, they're already probably potentially one of the most profitable launch providers. Now if they get this online, game over. They're going to be absolutely huge. Because now, think about it. So anyone else that develops a global internet system like OneWeb, I don't even remember, there's a few others kind of playing that game. Besides, it sounds like Blue Origin might be developing their own now. But everyone else that needs to do this has to pay for someone else's ride. SpaceX, on the other hand, can develop and build the satellites in-house, launch them on their own Falcon 9s. They can launch them on riskier Falcon 9s maybe than they would prefer to launch a customer's satellites on. So they're reusing their first payload fairing for this because they don't want to risk a customer's payload fairing. Don't forget, a payload fairing isn't just some dumb shell. This is a multi-million-dollar piece of hardware that if the fairing fails, your mission fails. It is just as bad as your entire rocket exploding. Well, maybe not quite as bad because you might, if your rocket explodes on the pad, you can blow up your pad. But it's just as bad as if the rocket fails a minute and a half into flight. It's the same outcome. Your mission fails. It might not look as dramatic, we might not see it, but it is absolutely vital in the success of the mission. As a matter of fact, recently it came out that NASA was kind of getting ripped off by this company, I think up here in Washington actually, that was selling them bad aluminum. And actually, I think I needed to read into this more, but I think I was reading that because it's supposed to actually break, it has to be a perfect brittleness, and it was supposed to break, and that's how you'd get these separation events. Instead, the aluminum was a little too weak, and it would just bend instead of snap for separation events, and you couldn't rely on it separating then. So that's why, for instance, it was the Orbital Carbon Observatory 1 failed. That mission failed because this aluminum wasn't to spec. And it came out that they were faking their exact specifications of this metal. And yeah, they're getting sued a bunch of money. And that goes to show just how important it is to have a payload fairing that works. So SpaceX can test things like reusing the payload fairings from the Falcon Heavy launch on their own Starlink system, and I just think that's so awesome. So this is, to me, where SpaceX will truly shine and become absolutely bonkers. So hang tight. This whole Starlink thing is probably going to be nuts. There was a little bit more on this. They're going to try to static fire on Monday and launch on Tuesday. He said these are production design, unlike our earlier Tintin demo sats. Will likely go wrong on first mission. Also, 6 launches of 60 satellites are needed for minor coverage. So that just goes to show how many they need. So they will need 6 more launches to even really begin a small band of coverage around the Earth. And then Elon said more details on the day of launch, currently tracking to Wednesday. Oh, if static fire on Monday, on Tuesday. Oh, if static fire is good on Monday, they're going to launch on Tuesday, but then more details on day of launch, currently tracking to Wednesday. I don't quite know what that means, but anyway, this week we're hopefully going to see the first operational designs of Starlink. Oh, and then here's the payload fairing. This shows you how big these satellites are, because there's the picture of a freaking car inside a payload fairing, and you look at that and you go, geez, that's huge. And you look at this and you might go, oh, whatever. But don't forget, you can fit a car. A car would look tiny compared to these Starlink satellites. That's insane. That is so cool. These use Hall thrusters to maintain altitude and keep orbital lifespan for a long time. One of the other reasons why they went into a lower orbit is if one of them fails, they'll deorbit sooner instead of like 10, 20 years of being just scary space debris they have to track. If one fails, it'll deorbit like in less than half the time, maybe like 3 to 5 years or something, maybe even quicker than that. I hope that they're going to start thinking about having like an emergency backup, like deorbiting sail or something, because there's definitely been some research on that to bring that an orbit down within months instead of a year or 2 or 3. And that's going to be more and more important as we start to put 7,000 freaking satellites in the sky. I hope they're taking that stuff into pretty serious consideration. So there we go, guys. That's kind of your update on everything that happened this week. Just been absolutely nuts. My week's been nuts. Everyone at like Joe and Ben's weeks have been nuts. So I do apologize that it's an unorthodox set of how we're recording and stuff this week. But so thanks for bearing with us. Thanks for bearing with my crappy quality video here. I apologize for that. Yeah, whoops. I think I'm wrapping the show because I don't even know how we did this. So if you are listening to us, we didn't end up doing Why Don't They Just this week because I had so much to talk about that I didn't really want to try to squeeze that in. Although I saw some really good ones. Actually, here, we're going to look up one quick Why Don't They Just while I have this closed, because there was actually a really good one that I was just thinking about this today. And I did see it on Twitter earlier, and it was too funny. Hold on here. Here we go. Okay, here we go. I'm going to pop this up right now to close out because this is too perfect for what I'm literally working on right now. So Chase Cottle asked earlier, Everyday Astronaut answered with Joe Ben Solons, why don't they just use the power block on computers like a MacBook Pro to have all the dongle connections instead of having dongles attached to your laptop directly? Already going to plug that in USB-C. He's exactly right. So what he's talking about, this drives me nuts. If I want an SD card reader, if I want HDMI out, if I want anything else on my current laptop, which is a MacBook Pro with 4 USB-C ports, why don't they put some of those peripheral things into the charger, the brick that you plug into the wall? Put some, if I had an HDMI out on this, a USB-A type, and a freaking SD card reader, I wouldn't have to carry a dongle with me because that already is like a long dongle. Chase, to that, I have no idea. It makes me so mad. I want this dongle thing to end. For me personally, I have been basically replacing a lot of my cables with USB and like hard drives with little USB-C portable hard drives instead of having an adapter, or like I have to do USB-C to lightning bolt for my phone. It's just insane. I think if we try to do Why Don't They Just for Apple, that would be all the show would be, because Why Don't They Just is basically all Apple is these days. It's just dongle apocalypse. And as someone that's still kind of loves / very much hates Apple, yeah, we could do this every week. So yeah, so that being said, let's avoid more Apple Why Don't They Just, because otherwise you will get us ranting every week. So be sure and submit your Why Don't They Just on either comments on YouTube. We seem to catch them on Twitter more often because that's I'm a lot more active on there. So if you have a good Why Don't They Just, be sure and send them in. # Why Don't They Just on Twitter. And yeah, that's gonna do it for me, guys. I'm sure the other guys, I'll say bye on behalf of them because I don't think we're going to do some cool, like, sign out where we all go, future, 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 which always sounds so bad, but I love it at this point. So I get to end this however I want. Stay tuned for my channel, Everyday Astronaut. You're going to see the fruit of over 2 months of scripting, research, labor, animations. It's going to be, I've been talking, you know how long I've been talking about this. This is where I talk about this almost every week. Trust me. Like, I know people, I've had some negative comments of people saying, like, hurry up, I don't want you to go so long between things. Trust me on this one. This one will be worth my time and effort because it's really, really good. And I'm excited about it. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it. We'll see you next time on our ludicrous future.